Hey guys, Anthony Tran here, and in this short video, I want to show you how you use Twitter to grow your podcast audience and listeners and build relationships online. Let's check it out. Okay, so in order to grow your podcast, you have to be using social media tools like Twitter, and I'll explain why Twitter is so powerful. Number one, obviously Twitter has a massive amount of audience. They are the number 2 social media platform, second to Facebook. So obviously you want to be on that platform as well and sharing your podcast episodes on there. As you can see from the statistics, there are over 500 million tweets that are sent out per day, and over 78% of those people are mobile users, which is an ideal audience for your podcast. Because guess what? Most people that listen to podcasts listen through their smartphones or their iPhones. They're on the go. They're taking a walk with their dog. They're driving in their car. So what better platform to share your podcast than through mobile with Twitter? Twitter also reaches a worldwide audience, so obviously you can market your podcast to a global audience and get more people to listen to your show. And you can see from the stats that at least 46% of Twitter users log into Twitter at least once a day, if not more. All right, so why use Twitter for podcast? Well, I'm going to give you 5 essential reasons. One is it's like texting on steroids. People spend a lot of time on their mobile phone texting, so of course they do the same thing on Twitter, but it's just texting on a massive audience scale. So obviously they're going to be using it and they're going to be checking out their Twitter profiles. The other thing is you can link your show notes and your direct podcast episodes on Twitter so people can get access to your content, your show, and other various ways, for example, SoundCloud. And as mentioned in the previous slide, it's a mobile platform. People are going to be able to more likely engage with you and your show because they have access to their phone almost 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, Twitter is a great platform for connecting with influencers, and I'm going to share with you in the future slides of why it's so important and how you can connect with them. And lastly, it's social proof. The information goes viral if people retweet your content, if they share it to their community. Your podcast can reach more people quicker when it gets spread out across social media. All right, so the first Twitter tip that I'm going to give to you is you need to tweet consistently. And the reason why I say this is if you ever use Twitter, you probably notice that there's a lot of tweets that go through your feed. And if you're subscribed to, over 1,000, 20,000 followers, then obviously there's gonna be a lot of competition to get your tweets noticed. You have a few small, simple words, maybe a picture, something to grab their attention and for them to engage. But it's really a numbers game. The more times that you're tweeting about your content, the more chances are that people are going to find your tweet and engage with your podcast. So Twitter tip number 2 is you want to make sure that you retweet others. Promote other people's content because it's social media. You want to be able to share the love. You want to be able to build a relationship. And what better way to connect with people and is to share their content. You don't want to be one of those people that just tweet about themselves all the time and share only about your show and your content, your blog post. You want to be able to share with other people. So as you can see in this picture, I retweet Natalie Sisson, Pat Flynn, Alex Harris, other people that you may notice, Jeremy Montoya. These are all people that are in the industry that, obviously want their content to be read as well. And what great better way to share their content than through Twitter. So the Twitter tip number 3 is you want to be able to tweet with pictures. Now, as I mentioned before, Twitter's a crowded space and it's hard to get noticed. But pictures, when they're scrolling through their feed, can really get noticed. As you can see right here, I posted a podcast episode with Gary Leland and I used a very bright looking picture with a really big font, headlines, and as you can see when you're scrolling through the feed, that's going to catch people's eye. And they're going to be more likely to kind of read about your content and be curious about, what is this tweet about? I want to learn about Gary Leland, and they're more likely to check out your podcast. So pictures is a great way to stand out in a noisy crowd. Twitter tip number 4 is tweet quotes. One of the best ways to share about people's content is to quote them. Quote them from your podcast. If they said something great in your podcast, make sure you quote them and share their quote on Twitter. Statistics show that one of the most easy ways to get retweets is to use quotes. Use motivational quotes. As you can see right here, I used a quote from Seth Godin, and it says, "You are not your resume, you are your work," but I also added a picture to it. So as I mentioned in Twitter tip number 3, use pictures. So great way to get more retweets is not only to use quotes, but to use it in conjunction with pictures. Twitter tip number 5 is use Twitter handles. What I mean by Twitter handles is everybody who uses Twitter has essentially a Twitter name, and it's usually an @ with a character. So in the example on the right, Chuck Price is @ChuckPrice518, and Search Engine Watch also has a Twitter handle at SEWatch. So anytime that I tweet about using their Twitter handle, they're going to get a notification that, hey, somebody talked about you on Twitter. And it's a great way to get people's attention and also to show them that, hey, you really like their content. And as I mentioned, sharing is caring. All right, and Twitter tip number 6, you want to use hashtags. And why do you want to use hashtags? Hashtags gives you an ability to become a source of information in a niche. Hashtags essentially, like if you put hashtag online marketing, people who follow that hashtag who wanted more information about online marketing news or information in the industry, they're going to be able to find your content. So for example, to the right, you're going to see that in GetResponse, they use hashtag persuasion, hashtag psychology, because they want people who are interested in that 2 particular topics to find that blog content. So when you're using and posting on your podcast, use hashtags that are relevant in your industry. Okay, so in this example, you can see with this podcast episode that I published with Farnoosh Brock that over 44 shares were coming from just Twitter alone. And as you can see, it can go viral and people would definitely check out that episode. All right, so let's see a live example. I just published this podcast episode today with my good friend Tim Page, and I want to share it on Twitter. I'm going to show you exactly what I do to get this information out there. So the first thing I do is I'm going to copy the web address, the URL, and I'm going to use a URL shortener. So the one I like to use is Google's URL shortener. Now they have other ones that are available like Bitly, and I'm sure there's other tools that you can use to shorten your web address. So I just Google URL shortener, and I'm going to paste it into this box. And I'm going to click shorten URL. From here, they're going to ask you to verify if you're not a robot. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in and verify. Now I'm going to copy this web address. So you can see that this web address is really long. And if I paste it onto Twitter, it's going to take up all my character space. So I'm just basically going to shorten it up with this, and I'm going to copy this link. Next, I'm going to go into Twitter, and I'm going to post about this show. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and create a headline. In this case, I'm just going, for the sake of time, I'm just going to use the headline that I created for the show. All right, so I just put in the headline, and then I'm also going to paste the web address of the URL shortener that I had created before. Next, I'm going to make sure that I use Tim's Twitter handle because I want him to know that I had tweeted about his particular episode. So I'm going to use Tim, the page. There we go. So he knows. And I'm probably use mine just in case people retweet this content. I want to be notified myself. I'll put @AnthonyTranMap. All right. So now we have all of this. This looks great. Now, as I mentioned before, one way to grab people's attention is to use photos. So I'm going to add a photo of his basically podcast episode. All right. So now that I have his picture in there, now, you know, the one thing with Twitter is you only have a certain amount of characters. So as you can see, I need to basically shorten this up. I have over 15 characters. So I'm just going to change this up to. All right. So I shortened up my headline. So now it reads, "How passion and determination will lead you to success." It's not the greatest headline, but it's going to work for this example. Now I also have the Google URL shortener address there. I have Tim's Twitter handle. And the last thing I want to add is essentially a hashtag. So I want people to know that this is a podcast. So I'm going to put #podcast. All right. So there we go. we are all done. This is a great tweet. I'm gonna go ahead and tweet it and you can see what's gonna happen. All right, so here we go. This is the tweet that we created. Nice big headline, a short URL. Tim's gonna be notified. And there's a great looking picture right here, so that way when they're scrolling through their feed, it really stands out. And check it out, when I click on this URL link that I made with Google, it's gonna send me back to my show notes page. So there we go. Now I just tweeted this content. People can come, listen to the show, they can check out all the links, and share the content, and essentially comment if they want to as well. So this is how you can use Twitter to really share your content, connect with people, get your stuff viral traffic, and get noticed online.